Korea's political showdown. PPP's filibuster delays key legislation. Imagine a political showdown that could reshape the media landscape and labor laws in South Korea. The People Power Party, PPP, has just pulled out all the stops, launching a filibuster that could delay crucial legislation proposed by the Democratic Party, DP, until mid-August. But here's where it gets controversial. The filibuster targets a revision of the Broadcasting Act, which aims to reform the governance of public broadcaster, KBS. And this is the part most people miss. The stakes are high, and the political maneuvering is intense. Let's dive in. The conservative PPP kicked off a filibuster on Monday, accusing the ruling liberal bloc of a unilateral push for legislation. This is the first filibuster by the PPP in over a year, and it's a big deal. The target? A revision of the Broadcasting Act that would change how directors are appointed to the boards of KBS, MBC, and EBS TV. The goal is to limit political influence in these appointments, but the DP isn't backing down. Dozens of DP lawmakers walked out of the session as Representative Shin Dong-uk of the PPP began his filibuster. The filibuster isn't just about the Broadcasting Act. Similar revisions to the Foundation for Broadcast Culture Act and the Korea Education. Another hot-button issue on the table is the Trade Union and Labor Relations Adjustment Act. This bill aims to broaden the definition of an employer when dealing with labor unions and ban companies from claiming damages against unions, even if strikes cause financial harm. All four bills were previously vetoed by former President Yoon Suk-yeol, who was removed from office in April after a failed martial law attempt. The PPP is also gearing up for a filibuster against a revision of the Commercial Act, which would ban large listed companies from rejecting the cumulative voting system, boosting minority shareholders' rights. Before the filibuster, the order of the bills to be voted on was a major point of contention. The filibuster is set to last until Tuesday afternoon, even though the current session of the National Assembly was scheduled to end on Monday night. The next session starts on Wednesday, so votes on the remaining contentious bills, including the Trade Union Act revision, known as the Yellow Envelope Bill, are likely to begin on August 21st. Regarding the sequence of the bills, Representative Jung Chung-rae, chair of the DP, mentioned that his party chose a bill over broadcast governance after some twists and turns, highlighting the gravity of the current media governance structures issues. So, what do you think? Is the PPP's filibuster a necessary check on the DP's power, or is it a stalling tactic? How do you think this political tug-of-war will affect media governance and labor laws in South Korea? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Korea's Broadcasting Act revision sparks intensified party conflicts. Media Reform explained. Tensions between the ruling and opposition parties have escalated significantly following the Democratic Party of Korea's recent proposal to amend the Broadcasting Act. This amendment aims to decrease the National Assembly's influence in the appointment of directors for public broadcasting entities, a move that has sparked a strong reaction from the People's Power Party. In fact, they have initiated a filibuster, an extended debate tactic, against this bill, which was previously vetoed by former President Yoon Suk-yeol. On the same day, both parties presented a total of 5 contentious bills, alongside 15 that were deemed non-controversial during the final plenary session of the Extraordinary National Assembly in July. Initially, the agenda was set to follow the order of Commercial Law, Broadcasting Law 3, Yellow Envelope Law, but it was later revised to prioritize the Broadcasting Law amendments. The first revision of the Broadcasting Act is anticipated to be approved on the 5th. Although the People's Power Party has initiated a filibuster, the rules allow for the debate to be concluded after 24 hours, paving the way for a vote on the bill. The remaining contentious legislation, which includes amendments to the Broadcasting Culture Promotion Association Act, the Korea Education Broadcasting Corporation Act, the Yellow Envelope Act, and the Commercial Act, is expected to be addressed in the Extraordinary National Assembly session scheduled for August. The proposed Broadcasting Act amendments call for the establishment of a programming committee that would oversee public broadcasters such as KBS, MBC, and BBS, as well as a national recommendation committee for 100 presidential candidates. Notably, the amendments would increase the number of directors while significantly reducing the National Assembly's recommendation share from 100% to just 40%. The ruling party argues that there have been ongoing attempts to manipulate broadcaster management, allowing for government control over broadcasting whenever there is a change in administration. They assert that public broadcasting has become a political battleground with each new government. Chung Chung-rae, the chairman of the Democratic Party of Korea, stated during a general meeting of lawmakers prior to the plenary session, "Despite some challenges, we are committed to introducing these 3 broadcasting laws as part of our media reform agenda, which is one of the key areas of our broader reform efforts involving prosecution, media, and the judiciary." However, the opposition party has labeled these 3 broadcasting laws as malicious legislation that effectively transfers all management, personnel, and organizational power to the broadcasting union, which they claim is dominated by the National Federation of Democratic Trade Unions. They argue that if the president reduces the National Assembly's recommendation share in the board composition under the revised bill, it would lead to increased control by the liberal camp. The amendment raises concerns about potential violations of the right to organize, as both public broadcasting and comprehensive programming channels would be composed of equal numbers of labor and management representatives. Song Yun-sok, the chairman and floor leader of the People's Power Emergency Response Committee, expressed strong opposition, stating, "If we proceed unilaterally with this harmful legislation that hands over broadcasting management rights, personnel management rights, and editorial rights to the union without any meaningful public debate or consultation between the ruling and opposition parties, what does that say about our commitment to media freedom? The Democratic Party is undermining parliamentary democracy. We will respond with a filibuster." Representative Shin Dong-wook, a former broadcast journalist, was the first to take the floor during the filibuster to voice his opposition to the enforcement of the Broadcasting Act. He criticized the Democratic Party, asserting, "I believe this law is akin to the 1980 military regime's efforts to control the media. How can we recklessly pursue this to atone for past mistakes?" In the meantime, the plenary session successfully passed 15 non-controversial bills, including revisions to the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which eliminated artificial intelligence (AI) textbooks, the Local Currency Act that established a foundational plan for local currency and mandated state financial support, and amendments to the Grain Management Act aimed at regulating supply and demand for food security.